Thank you, robot voice.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Trade the Chain AMA. It is Friday, so happy Friday. I'm so happy it's Friday, actually.
TGIF. Oh my God, thank God.
Yeah, super excited to be coming to a close in the week. A lot of work being done, a lot of trading being done. So we're happy. We are down two people today. Trading Nichols, you know, from the community, as well as Josh, the CEO of the tie, just due to some scheduling conflicts here, because we had to move today's episode or AMA up to 11 a.m. Eastern time. We appreciate everybody accommodating us on that. All right, Ryan, take it away and let's get this show started. Got some cool stuff today.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Alex. This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain is strictly for informational purposes only. None of this is investment advice, and the three of us don't understand why you'd listen to us anyway. Before we get going and hit the rundown, I just want to remind everyone that there are two ways you can ask us questions during this AMA. We have the open chat, which a few people have already joined and said hi, and we also have the Q&A, where you can just put a question in. So whichever method you are most comfortable with, feel free to ask us questions about anything at any time. It doesn't even have to be related to what we're talking about. So we're happy to answer them, of course. Anyway, what we're getting to today, Nick has some great research on the correlation between traditional and digital markets and how we have some support at 30K, plus how declining interest rates might affect risk on assets as sentiment begins to surge. Alex has some updates around the cent coin, and we also have some updates to the platform as well to share with you. And then we have some amazing community highlights that Nick is going to share with us. Before we get to all of that, I'll let Nick get to his research.
Diving right in with it. Alrighty, let's see if I can you allow me with some screen sharing, Alex, please?
Yes, sir.
Oil Trade the Chain machine strikes again.
Technically,
we talk about this all the time, but I don't know why they don't just allow it. Like, if I'm already on the presentation, then why would I not, be allowed? But I digress. So I think probably the biggest thing, as Alex gives me the privileges to highlight immediately, is just the fact that we've had three bounces near or at the 30K, 29K level. This is very key. Everyone kind of knows it's just kind of a cultural phenomenon that 3 is the magic number. And then after you have two bounces, you want to expect a third to really give you that boost. The market is always retesting where it's been. That's why we have support and resistance levels, and we pay attention to them so closely on the TA level. So to see basically that 29K level touched nearly 3 times in 3 different ways with a bullish boost on the heels of it is pretty.
Are you sharing your screen? Are you supposed to?
Yes,
oh, okay. I'm sorry for interrupting. I didn't want you to get through your whole interview there without.
I mean, I also would be remiss if I didn't point out the solid Sesame Street reference there. 3 is the magic number. Nicely done.
3 is the magic number. You don't want me to go into my Count's what's his face a joke.
Count Chocula, there you are. Not Count Chocula, the Count, whatever his name is. Yes.
Yeah, my dad used to do that all the time growing up, and it's just stuck in my head now. So, but if we look at the 1-day chart, there's 2 really key things here. One is obviously that bounce and the fact that I'm not going to go zoom all the way out, but basically the order book interest greatly decreases past the 29K level, and that's something that we've been highlighting week over week as well. But I think the biggest one, and I think you're going to see a lot of analysts come out and start talking about this weekend and early next week, if this actually happens today. Now, the daily candle closes at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if the daily candle closes at or around the current price level, RSI will have broken the trend that it has been in since April. Now, you can't see it up here, but that's when we dropped. Now, RSI basically on the daily has basically been rejected on this trend. And if this trend is broken, that is a strong leading indicator for continued bullish price action. RSI is a very, very, very heavily watched indicator, and it indicates momentum and potential future momentum. So to see this break a very long-standing trend that started when more or less this recessionary period started, that's pretty big news to me. So I really wanted to highlight that on the daily charts. And to tie that in, I mean, just look at sentiment right now as well. You know, usually when we've been tracking this week over week, whenever you see these humps, you know, it's just short term. You know, we've been seeing a lot of lumpy price action camelback stuff, but now we're seeing consistent, what is this, 36 hours of strong sentiment with the RSI break, with the strong bounce at 30K. So I'm just very much enjoying where we're at now. I'm not going to say we're going to see 60K in a month or so, but I do really like the level that we're at and the price action that's following.
Nick, how much do you think the B word conference has contributed to that sustained positive price action? Because, you know, having Elon Musk say that he holds Bitcoin, that SpaceX and Tesla hold Bitcoin, I think, you know, I mean, it wasn't too far of a leap to make to assume that they held it, but to hear it, I guess, made a difference in the minds of many people. Do you think that that's what's causing?
And he mentioned he held Ethereum. He mentioned he held Ethereum too, which was a big deal.
And Doge, which, you know, I hate to, which kind of takes away from the seriousness of it. But so I guess going in, I expected it to have minimal impact. I thought it was going to be kind of a blowover, flyover event, if you will. But actually listening to the conversation within and the fact that, and we talked about this, Ryan, we kind of thought it was going to be some heads going at each other, you know, some solid discourse. There was a lot of agreements. Kathy came in, you know, very smartly. Elon came in, you know, with
Kathy Wood at ARK, right?
Yes, Kathy's with ARK. And then Jack Dorsey with Twitter came in on the heels with some level set. He dodged a few Twitter focused questions, but the biggest takeaways were Elon said he owns XYZ, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Doge. Tesla plans to accept it soon. He offered Tesla's assistance to the move to green energy for Bitcoin mining. Kathy made a big case for the ESG perspective for Bitcoin investing. They talked about the mining shift. So the whole conversation, I think, really at the end of the day was courting, and what Michael Saylor failed to do in his massive, you know, Bitcoin accounting conference, is that they were really courting the rest of the globe and saying, hey, here are three people at the top of their craft, crushing every single metric available in terms of three different industries. Listen to us because we are believing in this, and so are the economists around us. So I thought that was like going in, no, but coming out, I think very positive. So did you have the same takeaway, Ryan?
More or less, yeah. I think, you know, I actually thought, you know, after we chatted, that it would be more Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor than Tyson Holyfield. I thought the buildup would be intense. Everyone's like, oh my God. And then it just kind of, all right, well, I mean, sure. But no, it actually feels like it was more impactful, and it feels like, you know, something I probably should have watched. I was tending to family business. I wish I got to watch the panel. Is it, if it's available somewhere online, I'm sure I'll go.
Sure, it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't find it particularly moving, to be honest with you. You know, first of all, I think Kathy was the smartest person in the room when it came to discussing the different points around Bitcoin. I felt that Elon was a little aloof. I felt Jack was pretty spot on. You know, we did an episode last week, Ryan, of TTC, where basically I wrote down those bullet points that you made fun of me on. And, you know, the comments from Elon and the comments from Jack that I took, Jack was very serious about what was being discussed. Elon, not so much.
Do you think Elon takes anything seriously at this point?
I think you have to if you get a rocket ship into space, right? Or if you have a car that's electric and mass produced.
But so does Volkswagen now. Volkswagen has an electric SUV. I mean, Ford has them, BMW has them. I mean, Tesla makes a great product for a niche audience, but I feel like they're going to have their lunch eaten eventually. And sure, it's great that they accept Bitcoin, but when you have the big boys already making all electric cars and they're mass producing them, it's only a matter of time until you either ramp up your production or you turn into like, I don't know, like a Lotus, where a certain subset of the population will always buy it, but you'll never be a huge car maker.
No, I agree. I mean, I'm not talking about like just car market share. I'm just talking about his mindset, you know, of being serious. And I think, you he's had those points all the way. He's had those moments since PayPal. So I just don't know where he is right now. He just doesn't seem he doesn't seem to be serious. But that's that.
One more point about Kathy, really quick, Alex. A lot of people that I spoke to, and I know Kathy well. I used to at the first PR agency I worked with. I did ARK Invest's public relations, and we brought all of these ETFs that they have Bitcoin in. We brought all of them to market. So I've known Kathy since the inception of the firm. And she generally tends to come across really smart, really informed, and one of the smartest people in the room. But a lot of people, their feedback to me, and I haven't seen this, so this is secondhand, but they said it appeared that she was just kind of reading talking points off a sheet, and she wasn't as engaged as she normally is.
Well, I think I agree with that statement, but I also think that she was overshadowed very much by having both Elon, Jack up there. I don't know that it was exactly appropriate venue for her to be there with them. So she's also she's also a fiduciary, right? She has great buying and selling power in the market. So I also don't think she was able to participate in the same kind of antics, even if she wanted to, as both of those. I think maybe she was miscast.
Perhaps, and she really has built a great business. I remember when they had seed money, and for her to grow as rapidly as she did from that seed money to where she is now it's a testament to what she her convictions and sticking to them, because it was slow going at first. They didn't really raise much assets that first year. So what they've built since then is incredible. Nick, before we get to your next bit of research, I think we have a great question from Aaron Sansing that I think you'd be well equipped to answer. Do you have any thoughts on the latest Rune hack? He likes the project a lot and hopes they recover, but he's curious if you think this is the end.
Oh boy.
So if a project has been hacked based on the precedent set by the market already, there is a strong chance that the project will be hacked again in the future. Now, that does not mean that all is lost and that Rune is dead, but to see a massive vulnerability taken advantage of by what appeared to be a gray hat or a white hat hacker, someone who is not doing it to steal funds or completely ruin the network. They were doing it to be helpful in a way. That's a good sign that, hey, you need to do this, but the way that the hand was forced is very negative. And the fact that the vulnerability is there for an open source project, it is going to be very hard to patch in full perpetuity for forever, because everyone's going to continually see that exploit, try to get around the patch, and now it's a target, just like Ethereum Classic was, forever. So it's always going to have a red dot on its forehead, meaning a sniper scope that is pointing at you. But I can't, predict the future. So would I completely invest in this project for the next 5 to 10 years? Probably not, based on what happens. Would I still trade it based on sentiment, trends, market activity, things like that? Sure thing. But when something's hacked, the trust and security is what makes the blockchain what it is. It's what really gives it the strength and value. And when that's diminished, it's very tough to put a lot of weight behind it in the future.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate because Rune is such a popular project, and to have this hack take place. What I thought was interesting was the note the hacker left, which said audits are not a want to have. And that's absolutely correct. So the fact that Rune, with its popularity, the way it had shot up, just wasn't on their game. I'm surprised by that. But to your point, Nick, if I was a passionate long-term investor with Rune, on a 51% hack, I would not be, no matter what the project is anymore. Because eventually they're going to have to either change entirely or patch, which is going to obviously remain vulnerable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nick, you had a great chart that you shared with us earlier about the correlation between traditional and digital markets, and talking about how assets might behave in a declining interest rate environment. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Certainly. One thing I do want to quickly mention, and I think this is just going to be for everyone's amusement, in relation to what Alex had said about, and you as well, about Elon's seriousness. This was a direct quote pulled from the B Word event, in which Elon is basically his logic is very interesting. You know, the most ironic statement is the most likely true, and my belief is that the most entertaining statement is the most likely true. Just the way that he goes about life is very interesting, and is a bit telling to the topic of whether or not he's being serious in very serious situations. So I just thought that was interesting to highlight based on his kind of pervasive power over Twitter and social media. So back to serious stuff though. So if you're in the TTC community, I hope you've noticed that the hashtag members research ideas channel has been a little bit more active than it has been in the past. And I have been throwing in pretty much anything that I find interesting, at least for Bitcoin and anything else relevant, mainly based on network stats, as well as on-chain stats. And now I've been throwing in some kind of interesting technicals and some comparisons that Ryan mentioned before. So someone asked me yesterday, what is a good hedge for crypto? And, you know, obviously the first question is, you know, what exactly are you trying to hedge for? You know, there is no full crypto hedge, but there are things to look for that, you know, if you wanted to kind of look for an inverse relationship to make sure that you stay delta neutral, or that your risk, in another word, is low. I recommended DXY yesterday, which is the dollar index. We can get into that. And that has a very big deal to do with interest rates and how people are moving money and assessing debts and basically their future yield, because dollar spending power has a big deal of basically your yearly real revenues. But someone mentioned SPY, and that got me interested in kind of looking at the correlation between Bitcoin and SPY, which is the index for the S&P index. And then you also see QQQ on here, and what you can't see is DJI, and that's in yellow. So from the beginning of July, crypto, or I mean, at least Bitcoin and the major indexes have been more or less correlated, which is very interesting because, Alex, you love to make the comment that, you know, if equity is really tanked, you know, it's going to maybe take crypto with it. And we saw for about a month or two an inverse relationship between equities and Bitcoin, where Bitcoin was more or less like this and equities were kind of at a 45-degree angle. So to see this correlation more or less set in, and it's not one-to-one, it's not perfect, but to see price more or less moving up and down in line with each other is very interesting as the market moves into a potential risk on perspective as we get out of the summer and into the fall, where some excitement may occur. Now, without getting too deep, we're seeing you know, the 10 and 30-year rate rise a little bit, which means that investors are getting rid of their bonds to go into other assets. This is the institutional crowd. We're seeing high risk yield rates decrease because of the crowding into that, meaning a company with bad debt is getting a good rate on that debt, or is issuing debt at a good rate, I should say. And that is very interesting because why are these risky companies getting debt? And it's mainly because interest rates are low. But then what does that mean for people wanting to earn yields and accrue value over time? It means they're willing to get into some riskier things to be able to get the yield that they can beat the rest of inflation back with. So that means that risk on may come sooner than expected because people are looking currently at riskier debt. And if that debt becomes a little bit too risky, then they'll just move into another asset in which a crowded trade may be coming to fruition, which could be crypto in this perspective as the tech trade comes back into play. And as people flee bonds. So I'm kind of dipping into multiple asset classes here, but you can see how interesting crypto is getting in correlation with the entire equities and traditional markets. So things are becoming intertwined, and it's very much a chess game these days. But I think it's very important to highlight exactly what's happening in bonds and cash in relation to crypto, because it has been moving the market more or less, at least since the last Fed meeting and since more or less April. So happy to explain this further in the community for anyone who wants to DM me, ask me questions in members research, or even technical analysis. This is great stuff that I think everyone should be slowly learning because it definitely helps your trading acumen in the long term.
All right, cool. Thanks for that, Nick. And since I already spilled the beans in the attendee chat by accident, I may as well just get to it. In terms of updates, we have coming a new redesign for the Academy. The Trade the Chain Academy is coming in August, later in August. But before we get to that, Nick and Alex are working on a number of new videos, including explainers, trading strategies, how-tos, and more that we expect to push out, within the next week and a half, give or take 2 weeks. So there's a lot of great new content coming, and I know that they're hard at work putting it together. So I really can't wait to see what the reaction is in our community.
Well, it's interesting, Ryan, because we've, since going into this kind of, let's call it bear cycle of the market, you as a investor, or even, as a trader, you need to kind of retool what your strategies and your mechanisms are going through that cycle. Otherwise, you just sit by the sidelines. So Nick and I have been experimenting with a few sentiment trading strategies, and those are what we're going to record for everybody to see, because it actually, when the bull market's happening, everybody's throwing darts, everybody's winning. It's when the bear market comes that all of a sudden you're like, okay, what are we doing with the tools to make it work? And so that's what we experimented. We have wins, we have losses, but we're going to share what strategies we felt were most impressive.
It's funny you say everyone's throwing darts, because I launched 3 of them into my closet door and still made money when I ended up having to buy Doge.
Yes, you
members
did.
might remember that. But we also have a handful of new coins that were listed this week. Zelwyn, ZLW, the Scale Network, SKL, Constellation, DAG, Triumph X, which is just tricks like the cereal, and Hathor, which is HTR. Aside from that, Alex has some much more exciting updates on the Cent coin that I'll let him get to.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I'm also going to interject something from Beyond the Grave. Trading Nichols, who couldn't join us today, was texting me on some of his wins that he had during the week. So before I get into the Cent updates, I'll just go over that real quick. Trading Nichols, he did the Bitfinex Waves SIG-Dev yesterday, and he took it for a quick 25% scalp. So it was interesting. He did use a little bit of leverage on that. His time period for that SIG-Dev trade was just over 10% without leverage. He took 25% with 10x leverage. But it was a very, very quick in and out scalp. So, good for him. I do want to point out to members, if you are not familiar, because a lot of people who are new don't really catch on, we have the SIG-Dev alerts in the Discord server, and that's called Significant Developments, that channel. And what we're going to do is actually we'll work, one of the videos we're working on, the new ones, is the SIG-Dev strategy video. We'll put that on and explain it in a complete walkthrough. But back to the Cent coin. Always try to make sure everybody knows what's happening around town. We announced on Rob's channel the other day, Danish and I, that the Cent token is being listed on Loopring. That is coming the first week of August. If you don't know what Loopring is, it is we covered it earlier in the year. And the end of last year. It is a layer 2 DEX exchange, which means it's fast and it's cheap. So sick and tired of those Ethereum fees on Uniswap? Look no more. You go over to Loopring and check it out. Actually, the video Rob did last week, he did a complete walkthrough, and he also had the team on. So that's exciting for us. Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to say, for those of you who like to geek out, Loopring uses ZK rollups.
Yep.
For those of you that don't care, it's just fast and cheap. But some people like to know how it works. So
you know what I see Lucas is in the audience. You know what the difference between what you just did is? The Zcash roll up and then the fast and cheap. That's like me when I have Lucas on the air with us on TTC, right? There's Zcash roll up, which is Lucas, and then there's fast and cheap, which is me.
Yes.
So that, we're super excited about that. We also, that's being followed up with another fantastic announcement with Loopring, which we're going to drop, I think, this coming week, which is going to have to do with, I don't know, some sort of reward-based thing, but we won't go into it. Ryan will yell at me. And of course, our MLP for the token this is the beginning of the drop. Our MLP program is coming out in August to explain to everybody between the 3 different levels, all the rewards and benefits. And we're pulling up the kimono on that one. So I'm super excited for that. Also,
I know the community is going to love that one too. I know that's been a big ask, because what's coming with the loyalty program. So really excited to release that.
yeah.
Not to disrupt that train of thought, but I saw, David Ruffle, that you raised your hand. If you have a question, please feel free to ask it in the Q&A or in the attendees chat, and we'll be happy to answer it.
Or if you're just saying hi, we're hiing back.
Hi. Hey.
The great thing is, I will tell everybody straight up, when we started developing Cent Token to come out with the MLP back at the beginning of the year, we thought it was great. It is great. It's all about the members. It is a freaking full-time job. Let's just be straight up on it. I know how all of our counterparts feel with this, but it takes up 60-70% of each day with partner meetings and all this stuff. People being happy with you, people being mad with you. But the next big thing is the airdrop. If you don't know by now, the member loyalty airdrop for Cent Token for eligible members appears in your dashboard. I'm going to share my screen real quick so everybody can see what that looks like. When you sign in to your dashboard, this is what you will see right here. It is a banner with the Cent Token airdrop. This is for members who were Trade the Chain members from November 1st, 2020 to May 31st of 2021. If you click on that, it takes you to the claim page, and then you just go and click on that link. Okay. This will be open till September 15th. Okay, so plenty of time for everybody to do it. If we're going to sound like a broken record every time you see us and mentioning that the Cent Token airdrop is up, so be it. We just don't want anybody to miss out.
Also, Alex, it's important to note that there were a handful of members based in the US that were having trouble going through the KYC process. That has been fixed, and now US residents are able to get through the process and should be eligible.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody has a problem with that, just DM myself or put it into the Cent channel as a whole, because that's where we gather those type of bugs and get them sorted as quick as possible for everybody.
Also tag Donish or any other member of the Trade the Chain team as well. So
yeah, if you want to tag Donish, his tag isn't Donish, it's Bad Brownie. I don't know why he selected that name, but it's Bad Brownie.
Nothing to see here. So before we get to Nick's community highlights, Alex, you had a great tweet that you responded to from earlier today that I think some of our members will really appreciate.
If anybody is not familiar with the Discord channel, Winner Circle, get familiar with it, please. You get to see what other people do. And here we got a tweet from who, by the way, one of the coolest names on Twitter I've ever seen, grew up on dial-up. I'm of that age.
Is that person on that Facebook ad that I kept hearing on CNBC, where it was just the first entry was the beep, the dial-up tone? It gave me so much PTSD. Every commercial, I was like,
I'm not gonna lie. I wish there was a sound in my computer that every time I sat behind it and started up in the morning, it did that dial-up squeaking.
I don't miss that at all. I don't miss that sound.
You've got mail.
You want to wait 15 minutes for your internet to start up too?
I remember those AOL CDs and everything. God, I'm old.
But here we go. He goes to comment, and we get these stories all the time. And this is what makes us smile. My very first trade using TTC sentiment info made me profit almost my monthly sub fee right away. And that's the whole point, folks. I mean, for us, it's about generating those profits that cover the cost, all the mental stuff that makes us happy. And so that's one of the reasons why we're putting out a new series of intermediate and expert sentiment trading strategy videos for you over the next 2 weeks, because we want everybody to kind of know how we're doing it and what our style drift is, because Nick and I, we have two different methodologies when it comes to it. So one may fit one may fit another. So we're going to let everybody, get in on that instead of trying to figure it out by using the force.
Absolutely. And real quickly, some call me Fish, one of our
I got that
community members.
I'm sober, Ryan. I won't spill the beans. I got that.
No. We're listing on Dexes right now, and that's all we can share. We can't tell you anything more because this is something that Donish and the Cent Token team are working through, and all of these things take time. And aside from telling you that Dexes are our top priority now, that's pretty much all we got.
Hey, and looping, fast and cheap until your dreams come true on the other stuff.
Until then, Nick has some winning trades from the community.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and pull it up. So this is community only. I don't mind sharing what's already publicly available to you guys. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to highlight a few things, and it's more or less, a big congratulations, round of applause to a few team members, but it's also a highlight of why the community is so special and how we're growing and people are learning. As Alex mentioned, the winner circle is extremely important. This is one of my more favorite channels. I'm not active in there because I'm not trading as much as maybe our community members are all the time, but I want to make sure that I'm highlighting a few people that have just been absolutely killing it. So one person is Method. I think we could just tell by these three trades all in a row. The guy is a master. He's very active in technical analysis and other channels as well. The dude is a great trader, teaches me stuff all the time, and is very helpful in the community. So thank you, and congratulations to all of your kick butt trades out there, Method. Ryan and I got a chance to speak to him one day, and he's a great dude. So another person I want to mention is a new member. Jackie has come in and taken TTC by storm on the suggestion of a few of the trading strategies that Alex and I have been recording and trying to deliver to the community every other day, as you've seen me doing the member or the Crypto Millionaire channel. But Jackie hit like 100% trade the other day. I think she hit a 40 or 50% trade a few days prior. And she's very transparent. The trading and tweet volume technique that I've been highlighting has been working for her. And I just love the fact that she's sharing, she's learning, and she's actually taking the information that we're delivering and becoming a really good trader. 150 or 100% trade and a 50% trade is good enough for me for a month. And she just did that in a week. So keep it up, Jackie.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. Love to see it.
I can't tell you last time I nailed a 97% trade in a downturn. So I'm being honest here. So
one thing to point out, Nick, and this is something I wanted to mention earlier. It doesn't matter if the market is going up or down. There are ways to make money in an up or down market, right? And that's the whole point of sentiment analysis and looking at what projects have momentum behind them. If there's only one project that has momentum behind it, well, everything else is going down, and you can see that sentiment score going up. That's your opportunity, right? There was a sell-off 2 weeks ago where everything went down, and I made 13% on one trade in a single night, where that's not a lot, but it's better than losing 14-15% like everything else was. So I was happy with that trade. It's all about finding gains where you can get them, and even the little ones start to add up to big gains over time.
That's a great point. Let me share my screen real quick, Ryan, to that story exactly. Which is the fact that one of the things that I do is I like to go to daily sentiment, and I like to, first of all, if you go to just remember you can toggle, hit the top of any data column. You could toggle in ascending or descending order based on here's very bullish on down, and here is bearish on up. Now we get this first one you see about finance. This one we may have to delist at some point because it's actually in delist mode now. It's just no data coming through. It might be a coin that either forked, merged, or has died.
Zombie coin.
But look at the names. Look at the tickers from the bearish on up. Waves, Aave, Loopring, Curve, Basic Attention, Audius, District OX, Perlin. I mean,
Balance or even.
these are names that are I love these names for long-term names. So when I go and I see this, I'm like, wow, this is a great way to find those dips and on my DCA strategy. So that's one of the ways that I use toggling from the bearish on up.
And that's a good idea too, because as I've highlighted before, you don't want to catch coins all the time that are already extremely bearish. Like that's usually when the value is mostly extracted. I mean, you can always catch a few percentage points, but it becomes a lot more risky when price is already up 10% and sentiment's been high for 12 hours straight, So if something is bearish, it does mean that could potentially continue. But if you're seeing, a bit of a curve up, or you see a spike that happens within an hour from bearish to neutral, then the market's reacting in a way, and you're catching that reaction real time, which is the real benefit of the. Yeah.
William Parker, I am feeling your pain, brother. Let me tell you something. Theta and T-Fuel, Theta and T-Fuel are hot to trot, and really hoping they do get listed in the US very soon, because I think that's just going to blow them up.
Yeah, absolutely. They have a great project, and Rob over at Digital Asset News has been a huge fan literally since day one, and he keeps telling us, guys, get in on this, get in on this, get in on this, and we're in the same boat you're in. William.
I'm talking to Steve later today. All right, William. Maybe I'll just start off with, hey, what about T-Fuel and Theta, and then I'll go into my conversation.
Uncle Steve, solid.
And I tried to be of as much help as possible by at least giving a DEX that you could do a workaround if needed. So I'm sorry that couldn't be of much help, but
yeah.
ThetaToken.org/swap, by the way, for those of you watching on YouTube.
Yeah. And then quickly, one more community highlight that I want to do before I get kicked off is sentiment analysis channel. So as Alex just made it a nice enlightening statement on another way to use GTC dashboard. I wanted to highlight just the sentiment analysis channel, which is where I have been just dumping in at least every other day, 6 to 12 different coins that look interesting based off sentiment. And usually this is based off of my sort by trading volume, and then go through coins that look interesting based off of neutral or recently bullish leaning trades. So you can see the Sandbox here had a very interesting hourly sentiment that did. But then you can go over and look at Sushi, which had interesting daily sentiment boost, which is very much in line with price. And sentiment moved higher easily 2 or 3 hours before price in that instance.
Love how clear that is, right? It just bears out what we always say. Sentiment is a leading indicator for price.
Yep.
I love the way you've been doing that too. I like that new style.
Yeah. I want to give people the opportunities. Sometimes it's tough to look through everything when you're balancing work and stuff. So if I can make it a little bit easier on everybody in the community, that's my goal. And quickly, I want to note a new member, or I don't know exactly how new he is. I think he's been in for a while, but he just recently started kind of posting a little bit more. And I wanted to say thank you for taking some of the sentiment suggestions that we've been making and running with them and posting in winning sentiment trades in the community. He posted an OXT today. I think he posted, I don't remember what coin it was yesterday, but it was another one that was right on the money. As you can see, Twitter volume up, trading volume up, Bitcoin price, USD price up, coming near a support level. The guy gets it. And he's posting and contributing to others. And I wanted to say thank you for that. And if anyone else would like to mirror that or look for potential trades or sentiment opportunities, then sentiment analysis channel is a great place to do it. So thanks, and keep up the good work, Jackie, Vago, and everybody else who's been contributing day in and day out.
Yeah, the community is amazing. Some of the best research that you'll find comes from our community members, that there's different perspectives, and not being in the fishbowl that we're in, constantly talking with institutions and constantly talking amongst each other, just having that different lens or a different set of eyes on the same data. It just shows how valuable it can be and how many different ways it can be interpreted and used. Yep. So big up to our community.
In the chat right now, or I guess Lucas is still here, and Fish, who also goes by James. They're always posting in very insightful kind of questions too. I think Fish made a great question about CBDC. Lucas was hopping in with, economic information and stuff that he learned from running his businesses. So it's fascinating to see the questions that pop up on a Saturday or a Monday, and in between. So.
Absolutely. Cool.
Very cool.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I think that's it for this week. As always, this will be posted in recorded form for you guys. We'll announce it in TTC announcements. And also don't forget to, if you have any questions that come up after any of these episodes, just DM us or go into the help channel in Discord. Or if you need to contact us for anything else, just hit up support@tradethechain.com. We're around, and that's the whole TTC team is pretty much almost 24/7 around in Discord, depending on our sleep cycles.
Indeed. And if you remember nothing else and there's no other takeaway from this AMA, remember that a hot dog is a sandwich.
And tell us about it in water cooler if you disagree.
All right, everyone. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later today on Trade the Chain Live. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.